Hi everyone, Carmel Sullivan here, Heart to Heart Medium, welcoming you into my heart to heart conversations. And the first person I have chosen to do this conversation with is Robin Schneider, a local Colorado Springs man who loves art, photography, and living a happy life. And with that, I picked him for the first one because he loves himself. He's unabashed, he's a happy guy, he has a great smile, he lives in the grateful every single day, and he loves to help others live a happy life. I see it in his Facebook posts. And with that, I was drawn to him because we need to love ourselves first to live in the great heart center. So with that, let's go ahead and you can listen in. Be the fly on the wall. Hi everyone, Carmel Sullivan here, Heart to Heart Medium, and decided to start a podcast to discuss how to stay in your heart center. And so I'm finding people who actually have had a change in life, who have had struggle, and who have shifted. And with that today, I have Robin Schneider. He's a well-known Colorado Springs art enthusiast, photographer, and more. He'll tell you what he does. But I met him 5 years ago and found him to be extremely interesting. And he had a life challenge. And with that, I knew he was going to grow bigger in the heart. I felt that when I met you. And so with that, I'm going to let Robin tell his story on his journey.
Well, where do you want me to begin?
I think you should begin where you feel like you're challenged, maybe, or just kind of go with whatever you feel.
Challenge with my cancer, my tumor, and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I'll give a little backstory too.
I will. So about 10 years ago, I had a tumor in my neck, stage 4 cancer. That it took everything out of me. I had a great job. I had everything that everybody always thinks is right, and this left me rethinking what was right for sure. So when I finished with the cancer treatment, I got laid off from my computer geek job, which was stable and secure, and ended up in the art world, which is so not stable and secure. And from there, things just took off. It's just kind of weird. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you a question. Your life was going pretty good.
Right.
You get this diagnosis of cancer.
Yeah.
What's the first thing in your mind when you had that cancer diagnosis?
It's funny. It wasn't anything really bad. I remember the doctor telling me he said it was the chemotherapy doctor, and he said, I'm going to bring you to the brink of death and then snatch you back. And I laughed at him. I was 320 pounds of solid muscle, football-looking stud, and I was like, you can't hurt me. And he did. He sure tried.
Wow. The work I do, I work with cancer patients.
Right.
Helping them get through chemo, radiation, did that at the hospital setting.
Right.
And by the way, I want to say something about where we're at. So the background noise you're hearing today, we're at Epiphany's. It's a brand new place. It is a jazz bar.
Yeah.
And in the morning they serve breakfast. Very cool. We're going to give a shout out to it. It's on the corner of
Colorado and Tejon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool place. So thank you, Russ, who owns it.
Yeah.
And so you're going to hear a little bit of background noise like you're hearing right now. But we want a cool setting. We're going to be going all over the place to talk to people.
Yeah.
And so with that, let's go back to you for a second.
Okay.
So when you got dropped to your knees, and I felt you did.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me what that was like.
I remember my dad was a huge Clint Eastwood fan, and one of the best quotes was, a good man knows his limitations. And I learned my limitations for sure going through that. It was having to ask for help when you were always the strongest one there. It was, I moved 2 or 3 times during my treatment. I moved houses, and being the guy that always hauled the refrigerator out, now I'm the guy sitting on the couch while my friends had to do everything. It was very opening, very enlightening, whatever, at the realization of you are not the strongest, bestest.
So that brings up a question. That brings up the word I love is vulnerable.
Right.
And being vulnerable is, for a man, I think, is so much harder than for a woman.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So kind of give me a perspective on that. Tell me what it felt like to having to let go of your ego and saying, help me.
Well, you just have to. I don't know, and it's really hard to do. At least for my generation of men. I wasn't raised that way, didn't, but I watched my dad go through it when he had MS and when he was dying and all that. I watched him go through that, and I was like, oh, this is what it's going to be like. I just didn't expect it in my mid-40s.
Wow, I didn't know you were that young when you had it.
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
So let me ask you another question. This is really, having this happen to you, if this did not happen to you, would you be where you are today?
Not a chance.
So tell me about that journey.
So yeah, it's just crazy how it opens your mind, opens your life. Once I healed or was healing, I was so weak after going through treatment, I couldn't even walk like in a grocery store or anything. So once I got strong enough to go for a walk, I grabbed a camera, I went out to this little park that was by my house, and I took some photos. And when I brought those photos back, I had always done art before that, but it was different. It was painting on canvas or helmets. I used to paint motorcycle helmets, children's books, illustrated a couple of those. But then I grabbed that camera and I went out to that park and I took a couple photos that were, when I brought them back and put them on the computer, they were beautiful. My wife at that time, the person that got me through cancer or helped me get through treatment, she told me, she's like, go put these in coffee shops and try to sell them. And that started a whole different snowball. And part of that, I think, was because I saw the world differently. I see brightness and colors and everything's just so much more vibrant. And I know, Patty, or Carmel, you talk about energy. And that's, I swear, I feel it. I feel everybody's energy differently now.
Oh, I love
and
that.
And I know what's happening around me. Like, you're awakened to it. And it's so incredible.
Do you feel you're more intuitive? Just out of curiosity?
A little bit. I just don't, I haven't been trained like you in the formals of it, so I don't know what it is, right? So, but yeah, he was standing out front of the store today. Sorry, I just pointed to the guy that's recording this, producer.
Hey, Drew.
Yeah, Drew's. I just knew instantly that's the guy that's supposed to meet us. It wasn't like he's homeless or the only guy standing out here, which is usually what I have in front of my gallery. I just picked his energy up and I was like, that's him. Okay. So yeah, I do feel a little more intuitive, a little more just aware, so aware.
So my biggest thing, too, with this podcast is talking about living in your best life.
Right.
And what shifted. And also, I think the only way you can live your most fabulous life is living in the heart. Not in your head so much, your ego is gone, you're living in this center. And I feel that you do live in your heart. I feel your artwork shows it. Your photography is amazing. Yeah. And what do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right. I used to do what society told me to do. I had a great computer geek job that, paid average amount of salary, higher in, and it was great and all. I would have never quit. but I wasn't happy. I've been through 4 divorces now.
Wow.
And so I'm like, I just wasn't happy. I'm not happy in life. I wasn't. And then also I think part of my awakening, I went sober. And
So did you feel like you had a drinking problem then before?
I never really felt like I had a problem with it, but society said I did when I got a DUI.
Okay.
But, it wasn't, I didn't feel like I had a problem with it, but going completely sober has definitely been a great change for me. I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for those things. Going sober and healing from cancer. Those things both really opened my mind.
So with that in mind, do you feel you're living, your decision making, your life is now through a heart-driven way?
Yeah, and it's crystal clear. Like everything that I do, talk about, I am so openly honest and crystal clear about it. Where before I would hide behind things, I felt,
Do you feel lighter?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think that's a big thing. I think when people are actually living in that heart, they're lighter and they're brighter.
Yeah.
And I think, so let me ask you this question. Do you feel because of who you are now, because this is new Robin, old Robin
Right.
was somebody living more in the ego
Right.
and more in the norms of what you thought you should be.
Right.
Do you feel that your light, I call it a light, your
Right.
attraction, the
Right.
magnetic energy of you, do you feel that it's changed or shifted?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's funny when you talk to my children, they both they'll tell stories, and I know I was there. They'll be like, you were mean, or not to them, but just
Gruff.
a angry old dude,
Yeah.
And I always refer to my dad, my own dad, as like being the Archie Bunker of his day. He was just kind of a grumpy dude, come home and sit in his chair and I was falling into that same thing. And then all this happened to me, and it brought me to this new awareness of, don't be that guy. Get up, go do things, go be nice to people, give hugs. That I
Yeah.
love hugs.
You give good hugs, by the way.
Thank you. Everybody likes to hug the big guy.
I have to say that you do give a good hug.
But yeah, it's all about that. It's meeting people, just saying hi, kind smiles and kindness, and open those doors and just talk.
Your energy, first off, I feel like your energy is so welcoming. And I felt that when you do your videos and stuff, I can see it. The thing I wanted to ask you too is, so your dad had this struggle with MS, you said.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he moved to his heart center, or did he get stuck?
He definitely had to learn his limitations. It was awesome to watch him go through it, because he was that Archie Bunker character, so to speak, where a man of his generation could be racist or could be, whatever.
Different era.
And then when all of a sudden he had to have, a nurse of color work on him,
Wow.
he had to really eat some crow, and it was awesome. I loved every minute of it. And I know my mom did too. We both just sat there going, this is great.
I bet his heart melted a little bit,
Yeah.
don't you think?
Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
he had to say thank you and appreciate those people for what they did. And I thought that was really awesome.
Don't you think things happen for reasons?
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
without you getting sick, without your dad getting MS, maybe those life lessons you have to learn in this lifetime, this
Definitely.
had to happen because you weren't moving toward it without it.
Definitely.
You had to get a
definitely.
kick in the pants.
Yeah, for sure. I would have just been stale, like, well, most of my computer geek friends that are still there, and
Yeah.
or switched but stay in the same field. You just keep plugging away, and your average, maybe it's better than average life, but I don't feel that they're reaching the happiness that I have definitely reached.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you this. I feel like you're a gratitude dude.
Yes.
And so with the gratitude, I feel, do you live in that kind of space where you're looking at all the wonderful things, even though some things are not wonderful, but you can change it, fix
Absolutely.
it, look at it differently?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely look at just grateful for everything. It doesn't it doesn't matter what it is. It's just a different attitude. You'll have friends that'll walk into a space or something and go, "Oh, this sucks," and it doesn't matter where it's at. You know, they'll find fault in anything. I know I had a wife once that we would go out to dinner and she would find fault in every meal. Every meal. And I was like, this is insane, you know, and it was half the time it was her fault because she wasn't ordering what the meal said on the menu. She was switching it up and doing all these things, and then the meal would come out and she'd be like, well, you didn't put salt and pepper on it or whatever, you know, and I would just be like, really, you're gonna complain about this?
Interesting.
You know, just be happy that we're even going out and we're doing these things.
Well, I think it's a view shed. I think some people are born with this, I call it the happy quotient. They're happy babies, they're happy people. But a lot of people come into this world, come happy, and then they get disillusioned, and they want to wear the wah-wah coat, I call it.
Yeah, well, society breaks you down. Society has a way of telling you, this is what you should be doing. This is the normal. This is...
Well,
even my own family, my parents, were definitely, when I told them I wanted to be in the art fields and that kind of stuff, they were like, it's much more stable for you to be a computer geek, you know, and do these things instead. And I was like, yeah, but this is fun, and you can't make a living having fun, you know, and all that. And now it's so funny because now my mom has finally gotten to a point where she appreciates my career and what it's changed into. But it took years of me just struggling at this and pounding on her and going, I'm telling you, this is my jam. And
did you know it here? You knew it in your heart, I bet.
Yeah, for sure.
I think when people decide to move to do something totally different off the norm, you have to really feel it here. It's not your head, because your head's going to give you fear.
Right.
So you had to let go of all the fear and just go,
right,
screw it, I'm going to do it.
Right. Well,
wanted to say another word, but I'm not.
No, and I had this thought process of, as hard as I work for another person, so when I was working for these other companies, as hard as I worked for them, if I just took that same effort and worked for myself, I could make it.
Yeah.
And I was like, so that 8-10 hours a day I was spending at another company working, I'm like, why am I not investing in myself? Because everybody tells you you need a job, or you need to go work for this person or that person. They don't tell you, you have a great idea, you should go try that.
You know,
in fact, most people try to knock that idea down.
Well, you know, what's funny is the people who want to live a conventional life stick to the script.
Right.
The people who actually I feel are the happiest are people doing their own walk, not worried about what others think.
Right.
I don't think you worry about what people think of you. You just be you.
Right.
If you were going to, you know, give advice today to somebody who's coming into their adulthood, what would be your greatest advice?
Well, I've had many advice given to me. Me personally, the advice I would give to somebody is do what makes you happy. You have to go out and just find, and I know it's hard. We don't always know it. Like, I didn't know it until I was, in my late 40s, that this is what I wanted to do and it was going to make me this happy. But you somehow try to find what makes you happy and go forward.
I have to say, my life shifted 10 years ago. Well, maybe a little longer. You know, 12 years ago.
Right.
So my life was interesting because I living the high life, I call it.
Right.
It was from rag to riches.
Right.
And then to rags again.
Right.
And without that shift of losing everything and putting us in a situation that we had to figure out how to make money, and without that, I wouldn't be doing my life work today, which I feel is my
Right.
most happiest moments in my life are now and in the last 8 years.
It changes what motivates you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you let go of all the things you think you're supposed to have.
Right.
And I wasn't happy as that. I call it the hoities,
Right.
living in the hoidiness.
Right.
And I was not connected to my heart fully.
Right.
Even though my person inside of me is the same person.
Right.
I just needed that flame.
Yeah.
So
it changes
your cancer
what
was
motivates
your
you.
flame.
Yeah.
Maybe the bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
like going broke was the bomb for me.
Right.
Like, who am I? And
Right.
what am I really supposed to be doing in this lifetime?
Well, and like I said, after, both cancer and my divorces and everything else, I mean, I'm not money motivated anymore because they had it taken away from me so many times.
Well, and you know what? I think
And so
money
I'm
is such a
happiness.
driving force for people,
I'm
especially
happiness
men.
motivated.
I love that.
And so I just go for what makes me happy.
So let me ask you this. With the happiness motivation, don't you feel things flow your way? Money
Absolutely.
when you need it? People when you need it?
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
you're more of a magnet for happiness, but magnet maybe meaning it takes care of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes you trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
One of my best friends, Angel, she's just like, don't worry, man, it'll come. And I'm like, all right, then I just relax. And
Do you feel are you a manifester?
a little bit,
Yeah?
we try to watch what we say.
Be careful what you say and be
Because
careful what you think.
never know, man. You'll say something like, we'll talk about an ex-wife or something, and all of a sudden she appears. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I believe words are important.
Right.
And how you say it is important.
Right.
And yes,
Yeah.
I do believe what you're,
Yeah.
and I had people always remind me I would say something that had a negative connotation, even though I wasn't seeing it, feeling it, hearing it.
Right.
It was.
Right.
Well, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me ask you this. My show is, this podcast is about getting to the heart of the matter.
Right.
So with your cancer, it got you to the heart of your happiness.
Right.
And what I also would like to say is, would you change anything that happened to you in this lifetime?
Nah, not a chance. Everything has worked out for a reason. I mean, yeah, possibly I could go back in time and not get married all those times, or
But don't you think it helped you?
have
I
a
mean-
better job or a job that made me happy, not the job that society wanted.
But then you wouldn't be on this track, because
But
anything you
correct,
shift,
right?
and maybe those 4 marriages were there to teach you something.
Oh, definitely, not
That
to
could-
do it again.
That could be another whole conversation and discussion.
Yeah, and same with the art galleries and all that. Everything has just worked out for the reason at the right time.
So I want you to give a little shout out to your art gallery, what you're doing with it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
too?
sure. So I just took over ownership of Art 111 or Art 111 downtown Colorado Springs. It's at 111 East Bijou. I had been managing it for over 2 years. I've worked there for 4 years. Before that, I worked at the gallery below, and it's a great little gallery where we're trying to show off more mature artwork of Colorado Springs. I don't know if that really makes sense unless you come in and see it, but
Well,
I don't know, the average galleries around here, I mean, they're cool and the artwork's cool and I love artists. We're trying to go just a step higher, of course,
Okay.
and make something a little bit better.
are you doing your own art still, photography, or you
Still do
just...
photography. In fact, you were the one that I was telling Drew this story earlier, was that, so I took pictures of Patty, your daughter,
Right.
and then you came to me after we printed one, and you said, you should really start taking pictures of people, and I was like, oh, I hate people. I don't want to do that. And you were like, this is your calling, bro. And so now, 5 years later?
Yeah.
I've shot weddings and I've shot all kinds of stuff, and everything from race cars to roses and models and everything you could imagine, rock stars. And so, yeah, my photography's booming. but I really, at the moment, it's like you said about energy. All my energy is driven into that gallery for the last probably 3 months. So, and that's been huge.
So one more question then.
Yeah.
I believe energy is everything.
Right.
So for you, how would you describe the energy of your gallery and the energy of you?
The energy of me is overwhelming. This is definitely. I was telling we were getting new tenants next door, and I was telling them, I'm like, I'm that guy you see first thing in the morning who's hyped up on coffee. I'm like, hey, good morning. And they were like, you're going to have to leave us alone.
They're going to either love you or hate you.
But, and then the energy of the gallery is just a really nice, calm space. We have a big comfy, part of what I did there that the others didn't do was they didn't like people to come in and just hang out.
Oh, you need to do that.
We love hanging out. We love, I keep a nice little stock of adult beverages. I keep cigars on tap. I keep all that stuff around and just have people come in and sit on our big comfy couch and just hang out, because the more they hang out, they start to like something in there.
Yeah, it draws you in, that energy of that painting.
Yep.
Paintings have energy.
Yep, and then we'll start selling more art that way.
Suggestion. Carmen always has suggestions.
Yeah.
I really feel your place turning into more of a interesting community type of setting where you're going to have like a draw of people.
Correct.
Like let's have, I think you should have me reading one night there.
Sure.
I love that because the energy of the paintings and the energy of the people.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel it more of people coming in just to be.
Right. And so over the last couple of years, we've thrown great events in there. We had a BLM art show. We've had 2 years in a row, we had a little kids art show.
Weddings,
from
maybe?
some, yeah, that
You
would
thought
be
about
cool.
weddings?
That
like
would be
small
cool.
little niche weddings?
Yeah. And even on the 21st of January, we have a wedding coming in. Or not a wedding, I'm sorry, a school art show coming in. Little kids art show, which will be awesome. But yeah, the more events I can throw, the better. And I'm definitely all about supporting the community. So we had in the past, we had yoga class and things like that, but COVID kind of wiped that out. So I'm hoping to get that back up and running. And
I feel like COVID has really changed our world in many ways, but at the same point, we also realize we need community more and more. And with that, I feel like with this COVID, it's waning. I don't think it's ever going to go away, but it's going to be like a flu.
Right.
Knock on wood. And what if we can take less the fear of COVID and getting scared of getting it for the most part? It is, I'm not trying to knock that there are people who have passed away from it.
Sure.
Just like cancer.
Right.
Just like, the flu.
Right.
But we have to live today because if we're hiding.
Yeah.
You know? Do you imagine hiding?
Nope.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No, I don't see you hiding any. But my biggest thing is I want people to live their life, live their fullest life, live in the heart, trust. The biggest thing, I think you trust.
Yeah.
When you get a hit, don't you trust it and go with it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And how do you know when you get a hit? Let's ask that question.
I just wait. I watch people
Where does
and
it feel?
the language and yeah.
Do you feel it?
I watch them fall in love with something.
Well, let me ask you a question. So when I told you I saw you doing more people,
Right.
your hit was no, no, no?
Pretty much.
So what made you finally lean into it?
I don't know. I just took your advice. I mean, you just take advice and all right, let's see what we can do. And I did think the picture of those photos that I took with Patty were awesome.
Oh my gosh, it was
like,
one of the prettiest photos.
Yeah.
And I treasure it.
Yeah, thank you.
I have to say one more thing. You brought up your dad.
Yeah.
What's your dad's name?
Alex.
Alex?
Yeah,
Let me
he passed
just,
away years
as
ago.
a medium,
Right.
I kind of want to see, because when you talk about your dead loved ones,
Right.
they do come in.
Right.
And I feel, I'm just going to see if I can bring him through.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, it might be junior.
Did he coach you in football?
He was there a lot.
Yeah,
he
I feel
coach,
like, but I
he
feel
was
like
there.
he was a supporter of yours.
Right.
I feel like if I see him right now, I feel like he's showing me more of a youthful man. He doesn't
Yeah.
like his old age. I don't
Yeah.
feel that. I feel like he wants to stand tall in his youth. And I feel
Right.
also, did you feel him when you had cancer?
I talk to him quite often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite often, even in the last couple weeks, I've talked to him many times.
Yeah. And he was gone at that point?
He's
Was he there or is he here now?
no,
Your dad.
No, he's passed.
Did he pass before you had the cancer or
Yeah,
after?
before.
I just feel like he was there with you,
Yeah.
cheering
Oh,
you
yeah.
on, like once, like on the
Oh,
field,
yeah. Yeah.
in the bed.
Right.
And I think he's very proud of you.
Well,
And I think he was probably not a man who said that a lot.
you're right about that.
Yeah.
That part, you're absolutely right
Yeah,
about.
I feel like he kept his words well, his words were interesting.
He,
He was not in touch with his emotions.
Here's
as
a
much.
great story that you'll probably want to end on, but it was 2 weeks before he passed away was the first time he ever told me he loved me. And I looked at him and I was just like, I know. I said, you don't have to say it. You haven't said it my whole life. Why would you say it now? You know?
I think that's one of his biggest regrets.
And yeah, and he was like, well, I just knew you needed to know. I was like,
Well,
"All right."
I feel the men of that era,
Yeah,
you know,
they just didn't.
they weren't in touch.
Nope.
But I do feel he's very proud of you. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think he would have told you to do what you were doing back when.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
he would have been a
yeah.
naysayer also.
Yeah.
But he's glad you stepped into
Yeah. Yeah.
your passion. I feel like he wished he had your bravado.
Yeah.
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 So
Cool.
made me cry, Robin.
Hey,
Wow.
You know,
Yeah. Well, you have a great heart.
Thank
so
you.
keep doing what you're doing.
I am.
I see big things still coming your way.
I know. Me
I
too.
keep telling you
and
that.
it scares me.
Well, no, you
But
know
it's
what?
great, but-
Ground yourself and just keep being you. Don't get your ego involved.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about you. I don't think your ego gets involved
Yeah.
anymore. It's just you.
Yeah.
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 So on that note,
All
thank
right.
you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was fun.
This was fun.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks.